Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com bringing you my review plus on-feet video of the Nike Free Trainer 1.0. Now inside the box, all you get are the shoes themselves. They do not come with any extras. So let me get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at what is a very unique brand new training model from Nike. I've been using them for the last couple of weeks, and I have to say I really like these things. Obviously, it's a Nike Free branded shoe, but doesn't look like the average Nike Free. I'm going to explain why in this video. We're going to go over tech specs, performance features, take a look at the weight of the shoe, as well as talk about how they fit and feel on feet. So if you are interested in learning more, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find Buy It Now links for all the currently available colorways of this shoe. It retails for $150, but some of the earlier colorways have already been marked down. So again, if you're interested, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all the tech specs. Now with any training model, you guys always tend to ask whether or not you can use these to play soccer in. And I think the answer to that question with this shoe is you can definitely get away with it. It has what's called a Kurum upper, which is a type of material that's specific to the Kurum brand. It's not actually Nike's kind of developed thing, but it seems to hold up pretty well based on my experience with the shoe. And you have all of these little kind of rubber pieces kind of, I guess, fused on top. I'm not sure how it's all connected. It's actually pretty incredible, but it does hold up pretty well as far as kicking the ball around is concerned, and it's actually one of those uppers that I think would be really cool as they implemented on a soccer shoe in some way, just because it's soft, it's flexible, it's relatively thin, plus you get that extra grip from the rubber. Is this extra rubber kind of wrapping the toe ideal when it comes to making touches on the ball? Not necessarily. This is still not what I would consider to be a dedicated soccer shoe by any means, but it has a stability, it has a thin enough upper where you can get a decent touch on the ball if you really wanted to. So what I would say is buy these as trainers, but if you want to kick the ball every once in a while or even do a little bit of juggling, you can get away with it. But again, I wouldn't buy these as dedicated soccer shoes. Now, with the upper, it's really interesting. Again, it's Kurum is what it's technically called. I don't really know how to describe it that well, other than the fact that it's a thin synthetic material with these rubber hexagons basically scattered throughout the entire upper that kind of allow it to stretch, but at the same time prevent it from stretching in certain parts. You can see it gets more dense and more kind of opened up in certain parts of the upper, parts that require more stability. Obviously the rubber is more dense. Parts that require less stability, like across the top of the foot, the hexagons get smaller and more spread out. And again, you just get this very flexible kind of natural sensation when this shoe is on your foot without sacrificing stability in any way, because at the end of the day, this is a training model. You can sprint in these, you can make quick cuts, changes of direction, and your foot's going to stay locked in place really securely, which is unusual considering how thin and soft this upper actually is. The laces run through the middle, as you guys can see. The shoe does, of course, feature flywire cables running through the entire lacing system. So those run from the base of the sole into the actual lacing. So when you do pull the laces tight, especially considering how thin the upper is, you really feel those cables grabbing the lateral and medial side of your foot and preventing your foot from sliding side to side. It locks it down extremely well and is also surprisingly comfortable. The tongue is a thin layer of mesh, kind of like what you're going to find with the rest of the upper. And then you do have a nice padded lining material made from a mesh going through the heel liner as well, which feels, again, very comfortable given the low profile nature of the shoe. Now this is a Nike Free 1.0 trainer. The 1.0 is something we really have never seen before. And for those that don't know what the series is all about, 3.0 is kind of the lowest one that we've had up until this point. And that shoe basically has a 4mm offset, meaning that the heel, your foot inside the shoe, your heel will sit 4mm higher than your forefoot, which is relatively low profile. The Free Trainer 1.0 has a 0mm offset, which means that it is completely flat. Your heel and forefoot sit exactly at the same height, basically as you would be barefoot. So this is kind of supposed to provide that barefoot training experience, but obviously with some impact protection that you would want to have while training. So the way it works is the shoe, or the upper I should say, with this rubber bottom is essentially a shell, and then all the cushion comes from the insole. So I have it removed here on the shoe, and basically it's a thick layer of ortholite foam, not too thick. I would say it's probably about that thick at its thickest point when your foot is actually in the shoe. It does compress a fair amount once you actually step inside of them, but a decent amount of underfoot cushioning, definitely not a lot. All the cushion comes from this particular insole. Feels really, really good, but again, they're very low profile, and without the insole, like this one doesn't have, it's just a shell. There's no plastic, there's no rigidity to the shoe whatsoever. So that's why you don't actually have the traditional Nike Free splits. It's basically just a thin layer of rubber, and really all the rigidity, and there isn't much of it, that's coming on this shoe is from the insole. And obviously it's just a foam insole, so there's really no stiffness to it at all. So as far as being low profile, kind of one-to-one, very flat on the ground, and just being super flexible and natural while you're wearing them, nothing beats these at the moment, at least in terms of what I've tried. Really, really big fan of how they feel. Now the rubber, as you guys can see, wraps up the sides of the shoe, wraps around the toe, wraps around the heel. They really kind of overdid it as far as the amount of rubber is concerned, but that's there, again, kind of as a stability feature. Your foot's not going to slide around from side to side. It's not going to slide forward or back. Everything is locked in place really, really nicely. So the rubber not only is going to protect the upper from a durability standpoint and just make the shoes last longer, it's also going to kind of act as a stability feature. And then of course the rubber going across the bottom of the sole, it's all solid rubber, so traction is really, really good on pretty much any surface. It has this kind of hexagon layout where it's almost like a turf spike here at the tip, and then it's more flat running through the middle. But again, on pretty much any surface that I use these things on, the traction is really, really good. The rubber is slightly soft, so like I said, it grips things really well. And again, it's just one of those training models that is unlike anything else out there. Very different, very kind of innovative, I guess, in terms of how they've implemented all of these different technologies on one shoe. And again, the performance is very, very good. So for soccer-specific training, when you're wearing soccer cleats, really there isn't any kind of underfoot cushioning. Really there isn't any offset from heel to forefoot. So having something completely flat, very flexible, and very low profile like the Free Trainer 1.0, I think makes this kind of an ideal soccer-specific training model if that's what you're looking for. If you want that super low profile trainer, this is by far one of your best options out there based on what I've tried personally. The one aspect of the Free Trainer 1.0 that I think is probably a little bit deceiving based on how these look is the weight. They're not as light as you might expect them to be. So I'm going to weigh this pair for you today in real time using this scale. Keep in mind this is a brand new pair in a size 9.5 US. We're going to throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 10 ounces exactly, the equivalent of 283 grams, which is not heavy, but it certainly isn't overly lightweight either, especially considering, again, the minimalist look of this particular shoe. Why do they weigh 10 ounces? It really comes down to the amount of rubber on this shoe, both on the upper as well as on the outsole. So that does add to the weight of the shoe, but I really feel like the rubber has more benefits than kind of disadvantages, if you will. Yes, it does up the weight of the shoe a little bit, but it's going to really allow for really good grip, which you definitely do get from this shoe, as well as enhance the overall durability. You have this large rubber lip surrounding the entirety of the shoe, plus rubber protecting the thin mesh upper. So as far as scraping and scratching the upper is concerned and kind of tearing through, it's something that's very, very unlikely with this particular shoe. Plus, all that rubber is going to only enhance the overall durability and longevity of the shoe as well. There really isn't much to break down on this particular model. Plus, I would argue that when you're training, having the lightest possible shoe isn't necessarily a requirement. If the shoe weighs a little bit more, hey, you're training, you might as well just carry around a little bit of extra weight. That's kind of how I look at things, but you might look at things a little bit different. Just keep in mind that if you are buying the Free Trainer 1.0, despite how they may look, they aren't as light as you might expect them to be. As far as aesthetics go, I think the best way to describe the Free Trainer 1.0 is that it looks like it was designed around performance as opposed to casual wear, which is a good thing at the end of the day. Is this a pair of shoes that I would buy to wear around with a pair of jeans? Personally, no. I think it's just a strange looking shoe, but for training, I think it has that kind of cool modern aesthetic to it. I don't really have any problems with wearing these with shorts and a t-shirt while I'm at the gym or something like that. It definitely does get some looks as far as just kind of people asking you what those are, because they do have a very kind of unique shape and just unique look to them overall. But again, I think it's kind of an interesting shoe. I really like the look of the hexagons across the entire upper as well as on the sole. I like the positioning of the Nike swoosh, especially the fact that it is smaller. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a soccer cleat. I love the visible fly wire there. And for the most part, the Nike branding is kind of kept to a minimal. You have another small Nike swoosh here on the medial side, the Nike branding in a 3M reflective material on the pull tab, and then a small Nike swoosh at the base of the sole. This particular colorway is a combination of dark gray, cool gray, black, as well as blue lagoon. So you have this bright blue kind of outsole with a mostly gray and black upper. I think the color combo looks pretty good. There's lots of different interesting looking color combos on this shoe available. So if you don't like this particular one, there are quite a few to choose from. Again, those buy it now links are on the review page of my website, linked in the description. But again, overall, I don't think it's the best looking shoe by any means, especially for casual wear, but for performance and kind of just training in general, I don't have any issues with how they look, but let me know your opinions on them down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and feel on feet. All right, so here is a look at the Free Trainer 1.0's on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock gray laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of light blue, wide, reflective SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they are very, very comfortable from right out of the box. The upper is super soft, super flexible, very thin against your foot. And when you pull the laces tight, I like that you can feel the actual fly wire grabbing both sides of your foot and helping to lock it in place. But it's not uncomfortable. It doesn't feel like it's really kind of pinching spots on your foot. It does a really good job of kind of just using all those cables together and just giving you that nice kind of structure across the side of the foot without taking away from the flexibility and general softness of the upper. The heel is very well cushioned, especially considering the low profile of the shoe. The insole does provide pretty much all of your cushioning. It's relatively thin feeling when it's on your foot, despite how it may look outside of the shoe. So again, it's very flat. There's not a lot of underfoot cushioning, but there's just enough to where you don't feel like you're walking around barefoot. You still have that slight amount of kind of softness underfoot, which I think just feels really, really good. And again, the shoe is just extremely flexible. There's no rigidity to it whatsoever. The only thing I don't love is how this little piece of rubber here kind of goes over top of your big toe. You can kind of feel that a little bit. It's not uncomfortable. It's just something that I personally wish wasn't there on the shoe, but I think they did it just for stability and perhaps durability reasons as well. As far as width is concerned, this is one of those shoes that's going to be suitable for anybody. If you have wide feet, these will fit you. It's just one of those shoes that is going to be suitable for pretty much any foot type. And as far as sizing is concerned, I went true to size, and the fit and length feels pretty much perfect. So for the most part, I'd recommend going true to size if you're looking for a snug fit, but I guess if you wanted something with a little bit of extra space, you could pretty safely go a half size up in these as well, depending on what your preferences are. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the Nike Free Trainer 1.0. If you guys are interested in a pair for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find the high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself. That'll give you a better idea as to how they actually do look in person. And you'll also find buy it now links for all the currently available colorways, starting at $150. Some of them are a little bit less because like I said, some of the colors have gone on sale already. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding the Free Trainer 1.0, leave those questions down below in the comments and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.